What's up, hockey fans? We've got a big show for you tonight. Rangers season recap post-mortem. What do they need? Who's coming in? Who's going out? And Stanley Cup final preview is finally here. We're going to break down why we think Avalanche are going to win or why we think that Tampa's going to win. All that coming up on the Face Off Hockey Podcast. And here's my co-host, Scott. How's it going today, Scott?
All right, yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Long day.
Yeah.
Prepared for a long night of hockey watching as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even though it's funny you use the term postmortem, I was going to use that term. As a matter of fact, I was going to call this my postmortem edition. It's funny you said that. Yeah. Oh, and usually when the Rangers hadn't been in the playoffs in 5 years, and usually when they get knocked out, I lose interest. But I'm actually kind of excited for this finals. You got two powerhouse teams going. As good of a matchup as you could ask for.
Absolutely, for sure.
As a Ranger fan, I could have asked for a matchup, but as far as the Rangers' loss, I mean, like we've been saying, they nobody expected it. We knew what they were building to. We just didn't expect to get to this point so quickly. So that's news. And I think it hurts a lot more for Ranger fans than it should with that fact, because they were up 2-0 in the conference finals with a 2-0 lead in Game 3, and then it just all came crashing down. And I think for that reason, if this series had started and Tampa Bay just blew the doors off and swept them, I think it would be quite as painful. Because you're up 2-0 in the series, and with a 2-0 lead, you can start to smell the finals at that point. And then it just all fell apart. And I had made a post just calling the collapse embarrassing. An embarrassing end to an otherwise great season. And then I pulled it down a few hours because the more I thought about it, some people might call this an excuse, but I call it a reality. We were the Rangers played 20 games in 41 days. That's a game every other day. And, you don't even see that in the regular season, let alone the playoffs where everything is ramped up 1,000% in terms of intensity. That's never been done before. Yes, they went game sevens. They went 7 games in the first 2 rounds, and you could make an argument. Well, don't go 7 games, but this was a COVID crunch season. The season started late. They were doing everything they can to condense everything, and especially in the playoffs. And this is a schedule we'd never seen before. 20 games in 21 days does not happen, or 20 games in 41 days doesn't happen. It never has. So people, people that hate the Rangers can call it an excuse all they want, but that's reality. We call these guys are warriors. We know that. We know that by the time the finals are over, everybody needs surgery and everybody needs ice packs and everybody needs, to stay in bed for 3 days. These guys are warriors. We get that, but they are human beings. That's just a lot of playoff level intense hockey in a very short time with a little break. Regular playoff season, you've got 2 days off at least once, if not twice, per series. You've got 2 days off in between series. They didn't get that, and it caught up to them. And it caught up to them. I can tell you the exact moment it caught up to them. It caught up to them midway through the second period of Game 3 when they were up 2-0. When Tampa got a power play, they scored, and that was that. And it just all snowballed from there. I mean, the Rangers were just lifeless. They didn't have anything, and I give them a pass. It's not from a lack of effort. They just ran out of gas. It caught up to them. And after Tampa had the 4-game sweep in the second round and 9 days off, and obviously their rust was a factor in Game 1, but then that was it. And then after that, I completely turned. I mean, the Rangers did win Game 2, but Game 2 was a very, very close game. And then after that, it just then the 9 days off worked in their favor. You could tell Tampa was just fresh from start to finish, and the Rangers just had nothing going on in even strength hockey. They could only score on power plays, and they just didn't get enough to win games in that series. So my hats off to them for what they did. It's going to go down as one of those what could have been playoff runs because, if they had some more rest, maybe they're a little more full of life in those games. Who knows? But it is what it is. The good news is they were building towards this. and hopefully they're only getting started, which I guess we can get into what we're looking at in the offseason here as we have the free agent list. Yes, they're only getting started with, Kreider's not going anywhere. Zibanejad, Panarin, Igor, second best goaltender on the planet. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having the second best goaltender on the planet. Those guys aren't going anywhere. But a lot of guys, they've got a decent looking free agent list here.
The big ones.
Yeah.
The big ones. They got Ryan Strome, who's coming up, RFA, Andrew Kopp, Frank Vatrano, Justin Braun, Tyler Mott. So if anybody's gone, who do you think is going to stay? If anybody's
gone, I think it's going to be Ryan Strome. We weren't thrilled with him in the regular season. He's a second line center, and a second line center has got to have more production than he does. He's under 50% on faceoffs. I'm trying to pull up his stats right now. He's under 50% on faceoffs, and that's huge. Faceoffs killed the Rangers in the playoffs. And the second line center, cannot be under 50%, and he was more noticeably under 50% in the playoffs. But he had 9 points in 19 games. But people are not going to remember 9 points in 19 games isn't terrible. Point every 2 games. Yes, for a second line center in the playoffs, it should be a little more than that, especially with the line mates he's got. But what is noticeable is multiple open nets that he missed. And in game 5, in game 5, one in particular. Yeah, exactly. One in particular, game 5, a tie game with 5 minutes left, camped out by the post. Beautiful pass. I forgot who made the pass, but a beautiful pass across the crease. Vasilevsky totally beat, and he didn't even fan on it. He just missed it. It was coming to his, he's trying to go through the one-timer sweep motion, and the puck just went under the stick. Now, it did come out that he was playing with a pretty serious injury, an injury that affected his stomach and his pelvis. And, again, we call these guys warriors, and we give them credit for playing through these injuries. But at what point is an injury that you're playing through become a detriment to the team? Right? He play in game. What game did he sit? He sat game 4 because he was injured, and then he was ready to go in game 5. But the question is, was he ready to go? I don't think he was, and you could either blame that on him or not fully disclosing to Coach Gallant and the medical staff how much pain he may have been in, or you could fault Gallant and maybe he was honest and Gallant, let him play. We'll never know the truth about that, but he shouldn't have played. So that being said, I think Strome is probably not going to be signed. There's $4.5 million in salary that he made. I would like to see them. And of course, a second line center is not exactly it's not exactly easy to come by, but I would like to see him be the odd man out. Andrew Kopp, Frank Vatrano, two of the 3 guys, and Mott and Tyler Mott, all 3 kind of under the radar acquisitions, all 3 unrestricted free agents, as well as Strome. And the problem is, so many eyes on Kopp now that the whole league is going to be gunning for him. And the Rangers, what they don't have is a lot of salary cap space. They had signed up Adam Fox to a long-term deal at 8.5 per. Now that in itself is a bargain. He grew up on Long Island, a lifelong Ranger fan. So 8.5 for the next, I don't know how long the contract is, but he's not going anywhere for quite some time. That's the hometown distance. And he's arguably the second best defenseman in the league. You could call Cale Makar, him, and Hedman the top 3 defensemen in the league. Put them in any order you want. In any case, he can get $11 billion a year on the open market. So we got him for a hometown discount. But that being said, it's $8.5 billion on the salary cap next year that we didn't have this year.
Well, how about this? You guys need a second line center? I'll happily trade you guys Christian Dvorak for Kravtsov. How do you like that trade? He's great on faceoffs. He's a point every 2-game player. Hasn't seen the playoffs yet, though, so who knows how he would do, but he'll definitely win more faceoffs, that's for sure.
I'm glad you brought up Kravtsov because, we had completely forgotten about him, and now he's back on the table. They did sign him for a 1-year, one-way contract. And a one-way contract is not what I thought it was, because I thought it meant that he could not be sent down to the AHL. That's where the problem arose with him. He didn't want to be sent down. So you got a guy coming from European hockey, you have to play in the AHL or, in some kind of minor league, get a little adjusted to North American hockey. Even Igor was in the minors for the better part of the season.
If he's on an entry-level contract, then I don't believe he has to clear waivers to go back down. So I guess you'll see how he shakes out in training camp, right?
The thing about that contract is what it means is if he does get sent back, he gets his full NHL salary. Mm-hmm. Now, they only signed him for, I think, $875,000. So really nothing for the cap. It's really sad that that's what it takes to get the kid over here. We saw glimpses of him. He didn't make the team in the beginning of the season, but he did come up for a few games. And I love what I saw. He reminds me of a Panarin. His stick handling is unbelievable. He looks to be the sniper that we thought Kakko was going to be. Kakko's only 21.
Exactly.
I'm saying,
Lafreniere.
Yeah, exactly. Lafreniere, we know he's going to turn into what we were hoping he was. We know that immediately. This playoff season, he looked like he's been in the playoffs 7 years already. But we haven't seen that tackle yet. So I'm not putting him in the bust category. He's only 21, but it doesn't look like he's going to be the sniper that we thought he was going to be. And I'm seeing that, instantly with Kravtsov. He might not be either, but I'm just saying I love what I saw from Kravtsov in the few games he was here before they wanted to send him back, and he said, "F you, I'm out of here." So I don't know if that's going to happen again. I want nothing more than for this kid to work out. But that being said, by signing him, he is potential trade bait. Now, again, this is a 9th overall pick from a couple of years ago, and he does have immense talent. That's guaranteed. The question is, what kind of personality and attitude are you getting with the kid? So far, he has not shown anything that resembles a team player. His agent finally convinced him that this is his last shot. We saw it, not a really similar situation, but Tony DeAngelo, for example, signed the 1-year deal with Carolina, knew that was pretty much his last shot in the league. He behaved just fine. Now he's going to get paid this year. So Kravtsov, maybe he's finally convinced in his head that this is absolutely his last shot, because it probably is. Because if it doesn't work out with the Rangers, I can't see anyone else rolling the dice on him.
Yeah. Hopefully Panarin sat down with him, had a good conversation about what it means to be a New York Ranger and how, prestigious of an organization it is. And you don't want to mess up your possibly one and only shot to make it in the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. So that means, so the other free agents, I'm looking at the, Mott, when we talked about Mott, Copp, and Vatrano, I'd like to sign all 3 of them. But again, I think, teams with a lot more money to spend are going to be throwing big contracts at them. So I want all 3. We're probably not going to get all 3. There's still a couple RFAs to sign. I'd like to re-sign Sammy Blais. He's a restricted free agent. We didn't see much of him, thanks to Mr. Subban with another slew foot, ending his season a couple games into the season.
Yeah.
Who else we got here?
I can't talk bad about PK, but yeah, it's getting a bit out of hand with the Slewfoots. He did a couple when he was playing with Montreal Canadiens. We saw him do it in Nashville. Now he's doing it in New Jersey. So it's probably something that'll never change out of his game.
Yeah, no, and like you said, he just won the King Clancy Award, and people are questioning. I understand the difference between off-ice leadership and what, and he's always done a lot for the community. Given that, I know he was big with the Children's Hospital in Montreal, where the Devils play in Newark, dominantly minority area. He's very, very involved in the community and getting a minority-heavy inner city into hockey. He's doing what he can, put it that way. So he is very, very big on trying to sell the Devils brand. It probably will not re-sign him just his contract alone, $9.5 million, unless he wants to take a serious cut, because the Devils are about a goaltender away from being right where the Rangers are now, unfortunately for me, but that's the reality of that.
Yeah, their kids are coming along, and they're probably going to add Yurov Slafkovsky to play with their plethora of undersized forwards. So a guy, a 6'4" skilled player, will definitely be what the doctor ordered for them.
Yeah,
remains to be seen. What he will become. it's still not sure who's going to go first overall in the draft, even though I'm like 95% sure the Habs are going to take Shane Wright, which I believe would be the right move. But there's a lot of people calling on them wanting to draft Sikorsky, especially this one guy on Twitter, Grant McCagg. He actually used to be a pro scout or a pro scout the Canadians, and for the last few drafts, he's always wanted to go for the winger over the center. He was a big proponent of KK, Kokeniemi, and we know how he turned out. And a couple of years ago he was saying, that Kako should have went first overall, and this guy's just out to lunch. I don't want to call him out, but if you take a look on Twitter on what he's been saying, I think he's I don't know where he's coming from or what he thinks, but he's clearly wrong a lot of the time. All right. So anything else? What do you think the offseason is going to look like? What do you think you need to take the next step?
What we need another one, if not two defensemen. I think when Ryan Lindgren went down in the first game of the Penguin series, it really affected the team. Ryan Lindgren allows Adam Fox to be Adam Fox, because Adam Fox is brilliant on both ends. I mean, he's just as good defensively as offensively, but his game is offense, and that means Lindgren pretty much being he's not really a stay-at-home, but that means Lindgren taking care of the more defensive duties. The two of them have such a phenomenal rapport, some chemistry they developed. So second pair, Keandre Miller has taken giant steps this season, and he's an all-star. No worries about him. Trouba had a pretty good regular season. A lot criticized for in the playoffs. Some beautiful hits. Hits which 20 years ago aren't even questionable. Not one of them. This year, a couple of them might have been questionable. I don't think he's a hard hitter. He's not the intent to injure kind of guy. He is a hard hitter though. And we like that. He did have a couple defensive gaffes. In fact, as we tied game 6, 1-1, he completely blew the coverage on Stamkos, and they got a 2-on-1 21 seconds later after they tied the game. Completely unacceptable. Couple giveaways. He was single-handedly responsible for 2 shorthanded goals, one against Pittsburgh, one against Carolina. That being said, he had a very good regular season, and I like what I saw. Plus, he's making $8 million, so he's not tradable. So we have to like him. The third pair, Aiden Schneider, 20-year-old rookie, big guy, absolutely fantastic. Love what I see at him. His line mate, his pair mate is where we need some improvement. We can pick up Dustin Braun, who's average. You can't really ask for more than that on a third pair, but we got another couple studs coming up. Nils Lundqvist is supposed to be. We've got another Lundqvist. And Zach Jones, who was actually up for about 8 or 9 games, I think, playing with Braden Schneider in the regular season. Those two had an incredible chemistry, but they were both 20-year-old rookies, and for whatever reason, whether it's they didn't want to burn 2 rookie years, or they just didn't want 2 20-year-olds as a rookie pair for a playoff team. Whatever the reason, they sent Zach Jones back, but I like what I saw out of him. He'll probably make the team. Plus, there's a couple other guys, so I think we'll be all right with the defense. In making sure we have that 6th as well as a 7th and 8th defenseman. So that's huge. Shoring up the back end of the defense. Like I mentioned, second line center, because I don't want Ryan Strome to be it. I say maybe move Barclay Goodrow to the second line. I don't know if he's a legit second line center. He brings a lot to the team as far as the physicality, the experience, 2 Stanley Cups. I loved him. He went down also in game 1, came back during the Carolina series and turned that series around. So, or was integral to helping turn that series around, I should say. Just the meat and potatoes kind of thing. He is obviously not there for points. So I don't know if he's, got the skill and the speed to be a second line center, or if, just relegate him to excellent third and fourth line center duties. That being said, we definitely need another center, somebody who could play the second line, win faceoffs and whatnot. And I don't know if Goodrow is that, but that's what we need. So a second line center and a couple of 2 badass defensemen. And I think, I think we're ready to take the next step this year. That being, and of course, re-signing some of these free agents. So
Yeah.
if Copp and Petrano are both gone, then we've got those problems to address as
Seems to me though, like almost every team in the league needs two badass defensemen and a center,
well.
right?
Pretty much.
Those are three of the hardest things to come by: centers and good defensemen, top four defensemen. Definitely always hard to come by in a hot commodity on the off season, especially during free agency. All right, so.
Yeah. I was going to ask what do you think of, I heard a rumor, it's not confirmed, that the Penguins gave Evgeny Malkin an offer, which was embarrassing, basically, looking for a massive pay cut. So I'm looking at him, age 35. What would you think about bringing, making an offer to a guy like Malkin? That's what I saw in the playoffs in that first round. He's certainly not what he was, but he's still Evgeny Malkin. He did score 2 big goals, a triple overtime winner in game 1. And he had another goal later in that series. But beyond that, he wasn't all that effective.
Depends what you're willing to give him, and a lot of it has to do with term. Personally, I wouldn't give him more than 2 years, but I'll probably be looking for 3 to 4. I'd say wherever he goes next, he's want to finish his career there.
Yeah, because he is 35.
Going back to the KHL, because he'll probably end up playing there for a couple of years, like every other Russian does.
Yep. Yeah, he was hurt a lot of the season, but 42 points in 41 games. So right there, he's on pace for 80 points.
Exactly. He's still a top player. He's still, he's still, not as dominant as he once was, especially in his earlier years, but he's still a great player that could help out almost any team he goes to.
Yeah.
Especially a team that's looking to take the next step. I think he would definitely help out.
Yeah, and I think 35 for a team that is poised to be a Stanley Cup contender now, because, again, this was the unexpected year. We weren't supposed to be a contender. Now we are. Now we need to make big moves. Chris Drury, as great of an offseason as he had in his first offseason, as great of a trading deadline, he needs to have just as good of an offseason to get to the next level. Now that this team, with the right, last few moves, should be a Stanley Cup contender, I don't mind a 35-year-old bringing in.
Well, hey, if you guys add 2 more Russians, they'll have the same amount of Russians that the 1994 Rangers had, which is 4. So it might be a good omen if you're able to bring up Kravtsov and add in Malkin. So just like the Canadians had, I think, 4 Italians. Not that I'm Italian in 1993, so we probably need to add some of them as well over here for a good omen. All right, so let's jump into the Stanley Cup final. This is the final that everybody wanted to see last year, I think. Didn't materialize, ended up being Canadiens against Tampa. We all know how that went. We ended up each taking a team. You went with Tampa. I went with Colorado. So why do you think Tampa's going to win?
Well, like I've been saying, they're the 2-time Stanley Cup champions until they're not, and they still are. And I just saw firsthand what they can do. They can be down 2-0 in the series, backs against the wall, and just completely turned it around. And yes, part of that was Rangers fatigue, but it's their goaltending and their defense too. It's not just, it's not just the Vasilevsky show like the Rangers like to put on with the Igor show from time to time. Their defense is fantastic. You've got arguably the best defenseman in the league as well, and Hedman, and just the unit. They're solid. I mean, the Rangers, couldn't generate anything 5-on-5 from really even game 2. I think the Rangers had 2 power play goals in that game. So I saw firsthand, if you could getting by that defense is no joke. And if you happen to get by that defense, oh, by the way, here's the best goaltender in the world. Not to mention they do have a lethal offense, and what we see, Stamkos. He's been plagued by injuries most of his career, but he seems to be past that. Well, the last 3-4 seasons now. I mean, a guy 2 goals, scored both goals in game 6.
When he's healthy, he's a 35-plus goal scorer, 90-point guy. When he's healthy, he's just been hurt. The first Stanley Cup run, he played 1 shift. Just so he can be in the last game.
Yep, just so he get his name on the cup, sure. So I think they're very, very well balanced, and well balanced is what wins Stanley Cups. I am not impressed with. I mean, Cale Makar is just unbelievable, but I'm not impressed with their defense as a whole. Even though they swept Edmonton, some of those games were just shootouts. Some of the, I think the first game was like 6-5 or something like that, and even
something like that, yeah.
And then the last game was like 6-5 or 5-4. I mean, they're going to run into. They're not going to be scoring 6 goals a game against Tampa Bay. I mean, Edmonton's defense was suspect anyway. Their goaltending was atrocious. Mike Smooth talked about beating that to death. I don't call it. It's a complete mismatch. He's going to argue that Tampa's got a decisive edge in net, and I think a solid edge in defense as well. And I think when you get to the finals, like that's everything. I mean, Tampa just showed what they can do to a high-powered offense in Florida. 3 goals. Florida set a record for goals scored for most third-period goals. 3 goals in 4 games. To arguably one of the best offenses in NHL history.
Like Tampa, right? They need to learn. They need to learn how to lose before you. I know it's the biggest cliche thing in hockey, but you gotta learn to lose before you learn to win.
Yeah. Look.
Tampa lost a couple of Stanley Cup Finals. They got swept by Columbus a couple of years ago, and since then they haven't looked back.
Yep.
That being said, they have played a lot more hockey than any other team has played in the last 3 years. 2 COVID years, a condensed season. If Colorado wins, and I think it's going to be the difference, I think at one point, Tampa is going to hit a wall, number 1. Number 2, altitude, right? Altitude. Colorado only lost 5 regulation games at home, 5 times in regulation only. And that, obviously, it's one of the toughest places to play. I don't know if you ever, tried to exercise in high altitude.
No.
You get out of breath fairly quickly. I like to ski, and I've been out west before. And once you get to the top, man, you can feel that air getting thinner.
Yes, I have actually. When I went to Calgary, when I took the gondola up to the top of Sulphur Mountain, and then from you've been up there, I think, and then you have a little bit of hiking to do to get to that abandoned weather station, and I had to rest repeatedly.
You feel it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
you feel it, and because of that, they're also probably the team that's in the best shape in the league, right? Because they're always playing in altitude. So that's 2 reasons. Number 1, I think Tampa's going to get. They're just bound to hit a wall. If not, then we can safely say they're probably the best team in the salary cap era, bar none, if they do end up pulling it off. But the altitude is going to be a big factor, I think, especially considering the amount of hockey that Tampa has played. And number 3, Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, I think, are going to be on a mission. This team has been supposed to be the team, one of the favorites to win the cup for the past few seasons now. They might finally made it to the big dance. They did learn how to lose, losing a few times in the second round. So I think it's their time. The question is, though, is Darcy Kuemper coming back for the Stanley Cup final? And would he make a difference if he does? That's a big question. I'm not really sure if he's going to be back or not. But that could be a big problem for Colorado if they're stuck with their backup for the whole series.
Yeah, if they're stuck with I don't know how to pronounce his name, France. Is it France? I don't think it's Francois, but if they're stuck with him, they're in a lot of trouble. I mean, yes, people are making fun of the Rangers with their lack of abusing backups, but Tampa Bay is not the Rangers. No. Tampa Bay knows what to do in the Stanley Cup Finals and the conference finals and whatnot. And I think, if it's him, it's going to be open season. But I'm not even impressed with Darcy Kuemper. It's still a decisive edge toward Vasilevsky. It's better. Yes, it's better. But
they never should have let go Grubauer in the expansion draft. They made a mistake there. Big mistake, if you ask me. But also Colorado, they're also a big, strong team. I think they have better depth at center with Nathan MacKinnon and Nassim Kadri, who had the season of his life. He can get pretty nasty getting in your skin. It'll be interesting to see the center matchup because Braden Point is not coming back. I don't think so. So tough for them. It's gonna be tough for them.
We don't know about
center win series.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I'll tell you what, if Braden Point does come back, that might just, I think Tampa's going to win regardless, but, that would be enormous if they could get him back. I mean, we all watched the the play where he got injured. It looked to me like his knee was shredded and requiring surgery in a year and a half of rehab. I give John Cooper credit because he was playing mind games. These playoff series are chess matches, and he was playing mind games with the Rangers, and he was winning because he kept saying that he was a game by game decision, and then at 7:00 the night before the night of the game, he would say no, he's not playing. He even displayed him on the ice for a little pregame skate, one of those games. Or during the day practice, made sure there was video of it circulated. And then would come out and say, "Oh, he's not playing." So John Cooper knows how to play the game. Maybe Gallant had to make some adjustments. In preparation for possibly him coming back. Maybe he's out for the season, like it looks like he should be, but or maybe he is a game guy. We don't know. Hats off to John Cooper for and he's going to continue to play those mind games in this series. But maybe he does legitimately come back. I don't think so. I think that fall looked awful. That I'm not a doctor, of course. It just looked to me like that's knee surgery, but who knows? But if they do get him back and he's actually like close to 100%, that's huge advantage to him.
Either way, I think this is going to be a long series. I don't see it going any less than 6 games. But if it goes 7, I got to give the edge to Colorado. If it goes 7, I just got to give the edge to Colorado. Again, if Tampa Bay wants to win the series, again, I think they have to do it in 6.
Fair enough.
That's what I think. And that pretty much does it for today's abbreviated version of the Face Off Hockey podcast. Just want to offer my condolences once again to my good friend Scott here.
Thank you.
You don't have to get into it if you don't want to, but again, I know you lost somebody close to you, but she had a great run, 102 years old.
Yes. All right. I'll finish off. My grandmother, 102, 2 months short of 103, and was alive for all 4 New York Rangers Stanley Cups dating back to 1928, born in 1919.
That is pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate the condolences.
All right. And on that note, I'll wish all of you guys and all my friends a great Stanley Cup final. I hope your team wins, and we'll catch you next week on the next episode of the Face Off Hockey Podcast. Have a good one and keep your head up.
Enjoy the finals.